All right, folks. So I did a video earlier. I talked about as above, so below. That which is above corresponds with that which is below, and that which is below corresponds with that which is above. And as within, so without. Now, this is a quote or a principle by Hermes Trismegistus, a famous philosopher. And I want to kind of like go over that a little bit more in detail because I rushed through the first video. And in the Bible it says, in Matthew it says, "Our Father who art in heaven, thy kingdom come." Let's just talk about that for a second. Thy kingdom come. There are five kingdoms known to man in terms of science: archibacteria, bacteria, fungi, animal, and plant. We belong to the animal kingdom. So there are five kingdoms of life. And the scripture says, "Thy kingdom come." So that tells me that we are in a five kingdom system that we interact with in terms of humanity and science and study. But there is a kingdom which is God's kingdom, because that's what the scripture says: "Thy kingdom come." We already interact with the five that we're aware of that and we study, but Thy kingdom come. It says, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." Hermes Trismegistus principle says, that which is below corresponds with that which is above. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. You can see the core, you can connect the dots there. You can see in the philosophy the theology. You can see the theology in the philosophy, and in the philosophy you can see the theology, because the theology says, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done." The theology says, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." Correspondence. As above, so below. That which is below corresponds with that which is above. So we can connect the dots with the philosophy and as well with the theology. We can see the correspondence between both the philosophy and the theology. Now let's dissect and decipher that and decode that a little bit. What exactly is being talked about when both the scripture and the philosophy says there's a correspondence between that which is above and that which is below? All right, we are what's below. It is also within it's a spin-off of the principle that says man is the microcosm of the macrocosm, and the macrocosm is a correspondence of the microcosm, which is another way of saying the same thing. It's synonymous. Yeah, it's synonymous with the correspondent of that which is above and that which is below. We are the microcosm of the macrocosm. The macrocosm is a reflection of the microcosm. So what it's really saying in lay terms is that the exact ingredients that makes up the universe, the galaxies, are the same ingredients that makes up you and I. The material that makes up the universe is the material that makes up you and I. We are a micro universe. We are a micro reflection of the macro universe. And to further dissect and decipher and decode this, we can look at the atom. Our atom is structured identically to the solar system. Solar system has 9 planets, 8 of which orbits one. The 8 orbits the sun because the sun has more mass. And according to general relativity, the more mass an object has, the greater its gravitational pull or gravitational force. So the sun, being the most massive of the 9 planets, it actually controls, manipulates the gravitational force of the other 8 planets, and therefore are manipulating these 8 planets to orbit itself. This is how the solar system is structured. Your atom, inside of your atom, there is a nucleus. Inside of your nucleus, there are protons. Protons are energetic particles, positively charged energetic particles. So within the atom, there is a nucleus. This is subatomic now. We're going subatomic. The nucleus is electrically charged. Therefore, it controls what's called the electrons, which are outside of the nucleus. And the electrons, like the 8 planets, orbits the nucleus, which is likened to the sun. So we see a direct correlation there. The nucleus representative the sun, the nucleus represents the sun, the electrons represents the 8 planets. And all electrons orbit the nucleus as a result of it having the in this case would be considered the gravitational force, but it's not a gravitational force. It's actually called the strong force, because there's 4 fundamental forces in the universe: strong, weak, electromagnetic, and gravitational force. So in terms of the nucleus, it has what's called a strong force, and that it uses that strong force to manipulate the electrons to orbit itself, like into the sun, using its gravitational force to allow the other planets to orbit itself. So we see macrocosm, the galaxy; microcosm, the atoms. And the atoms are inside of us. Atoms make up everything. Atoms everywhere. So as above, so below. To further expound, discover, and uncover the mysteries. Well, it's not really a mystery because we know this, but it's not common knowledge. So to further expound and to shed light on the not so common knowledge, if you break down, if you think about the galaxy, carbon is found in the galaxy. Carbon is found in the sun. Proton to proton nuclear reactions, and you get helium. Carbon is found throughout all the galaxy. We know that carbon is found within us, right? Specifically, if you break down our DNA, you get what's called nucleotides. If you break down the nucleotides, you get what's called nucleic acids. Our nucleic acids, if you further break that down, it becomes an organic molecule that is composed of several elements. These elements consist of 1, carbon; 2, phosphate, a phosphate group; and 3, a nitrogenous base. And the way they're structured is kind of like, you would call it the skeletal, because it's structured like, it would be like we have bones in our bodies. This would be the bones of the actual nucleic acid. So when you look at the nucleic acid and the skeletal of the nucleic acid, it would be a carbon. It would consist of the nitrogenous base, phosphate group, and these are the components, organic parts that make up the nucleic acid, which is nucleotides, which make up DNA. All of these elements, the phosphate, nitrogenous base, can be found in the universe. Nitrogen can be found in the universe. Phosphate can be found in the universe. Carbon can be found in damn near everything. So here again, as above, so below. The constituent parts, the essential elements, the essential ingredients that makes up the galaxy, makes up you and I. The exact same hydrogen, magnesium, iron, all these different elements can be found in the universe. I can't remember the individual's name, but a famous writer once said, "Men are made of stars, stardust," because the same ingredients that's found in stardust is found in you and I, in our biology. So again, as above, so below. I spoke of the solar system. Our Supreme Court, the way it's structured, it's not identical, but there's similarities. There are 9 planets, like I said. There are 9 judges. Coincidence? I don't think so. We know again that the sun is the massive, the most powerful, so it controls the other 8. The Chief Justice is the most powerful, so he controls the other 8. Again, similarities. As above, so below. There's so many more illustrations and examples we can touch on, but suffice it to be that these are some of the most powerful illustrations that we can talk about right now, and get some more profound and in-depth understanding. Now, the principle continues: as within, so without. And I made mention of this in the previous video. Your external world, whatever's going on in your external world, your relationships, your finances, career, your goals, aspirations, relationships with your children, every single aspect of your life whatever condition it is outside, it's directly tied, okay? It is specifically and precisely tied to the conditions that is on the inside. The inside meaning your mental atmosphere. How you structure your mind, how your mind is organized, recalibrated, how your mind is put together, or lack of being put together, organized or disorganized, will show up in all aspects of your life. As within, so without. You cannot have a healthy relationship business wise outside, a healthy relationship, personal, intimate and personal relationship healthy outside, finances healthy outside, your parenting with your children healthy outside, your family healthy outside, if inside, okay, your internal atmosphere, your mental atmosphere is cloudy, hazy, if your internal atmosphere is nebulous, if your internal atmosphere it's jumbled, mixed up, all over the place. So if your internal, your mindset, the atmosphere of your soul, your mind, your spirit, if that is cluttered and clustered, you will not have a pristine, clear, organized, structured external life. It just will not happen because of this principle, as within, so without. You can't have an organized, and the same goes in reverse. If your mind is organized, if your mind is sound, complete, whole, healthy, if your thinking is sharp, crisp, precise, clear, if you can see, if you have mental vision, perception, you know where you're going, you have your blinders on, you're focused, you're not distracted, you cannot have a life that is upside down. You cannot have relationships that are unhealthy. You cannot walk with those who are not aligned with your psyche. If you are internally clean, you cannot have an exterior that is dirty, for lack of better expression. If your internal atmosphere is clean, organized, and filed and put together, your outer world cannot be in shambles because of, again, falling back on this principle, as within, so without. So if your inside is organized and structured, your outside cannot be disorganized and disstructured, if that's the word. I don't think that's the word. We'll make that one up and run with it. So if your internal file cabinets are well put together and archived, your external file cabinets cannot be disheveled and in shambles. The same goes true. If your inner is filed and well organized, your outer will be filed and well organized. So again, as within, so without. Everything outside in your external world is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. Now, having said that, I can hear some making the argument, well, things happen. I can be perfectly organized, but someone else can make a mistake. And now that's true. You cannot control everybody's actions. You cannot, there is randomness in nature. And even that is not true if you look close enough, because within the 7 principles of the Hermetic principles, there's the law of cause and effect. Isaac Newton has, for every action, there's a equal and opposite reaction. Again, cause, effect. For every effect, there is a cause. For every cause, there's effect. You just have to look close enough. So nothing in the universe is just random. We say it's random because the cause is infinitesimal, so therefore it's negligible. But it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Because there's an infinitesimal and negligible cause, it's still a cause. But it's not readily noticeable or perceived by the naked eye. So I don't want to digress too much, but the point I'm making is for those who would say, well, what about randomness, or what about this, what about that, and I'm organized but this falls apart, right? That's not what this principle is talking about. It's talking about things you have control over. Your credit score, right? That's something you can control, your credit score, right? Your finances, budgeting, surplus, deficits, income, debt ratio. That stuff you can control. Your investments, your lack of investments, your financial structures are things that's within your control, immediate control. Things that are outside of your control, that's where my faith comes in. And if you believe in God, that's where God comes in. Some things you gotta turn over to the big man upstairs. There's some things that's not within your control, but the things that are, and we're being very practical and pragmatic here. We're not fanciful, fictional, or any of that. Pie in the sky kind of mentality. We're talking about practical, pragmatic, boots on the ground approach. Things that you can control. There are some things that are within our grasp, and there's things that are not. Where your arm stops short, you let God pick it up. Till next time, peace.